We had this lady call another day, and she hated her work and knew she would never retire. But after just a 10-minute conversation, we found out not only could she retire, but she could retire today. So in this video, I'm gonna go over the simple 5-question framework we used so you can find out if you could retire today too. So the first question we asked her, what are your living expenses? And this lady, let's call her Diane. So it's a little ditty about a lady named Diane. She's 67 years old and needs $5,000 a month to live. So ask yourself the question, how much would it take for you to live on a monthly basis? Is it $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month? You don't need to get it precise, but you need to be generally right. Which leads us to the next question. How much have you saved? Now, Ms. Diane saved $500,000 in her 401k and $30,000 in cash. How much have you saved? And in what type of accounts? Is it a 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, taxable accounts? And no, your primary residence doesn't count. I had a lady call me and she said, my best investment is my home. And I'm like, how are you going to generate income off of your home? And she didn't know. So unless you plan on downsizing, your primary residence shouldn't be counted as your investments. So the third question we asked is, what other forms of income do you have? Ms. Diane only had her work income, but she qualified for $3,000 a month in Social Security benefits. How much in Social Security benefits do you qualify for? Are you lucky enough to have a pension? Any rental properties? You got any alimony coming in? All of these forms of income need to be considered when you're doing your retirement planning. So the fourth thing you want to know is, do you have any major upcoming expenses? Diane had no debt and her car was only 4 years old with low miles, and it was paid for. Many retirees fear having some debt in their retirement. It's great if you can be debt-free. However, some debt is fine as long as you're comfortable with paying with cash flow and the interest isn't too high. And the fifth question is, what is your risk tolerance? Now, Diane had a 70% stock and a 30% bond portfolio inside her 401k. And she's had it that way for over 5 years. Now, if you're very conservative, you may need to have more money in retirement because your rate of return over time is probably going to be lower. If you could be a little bit more flexible with your investments and have them potentially get a higher return, you won't need as much money to retire. So let's recap the little ditty about Diane. She needs $5,000 a month to live. She has $500,000 in her 401k, and that's 70% stocks, 30% bonds, and $30,000 in cash. She qualifies for $3,000 a month in Social Security benefits, and she doesn't have any big upcoming expenses. And if you subtract those two, you get $2,000 a month she needs from her investments. Multiply that by 12, and you get $24,000. So $24,000 a year in income need divided by a $500,000 investment account, and you get 4.8%, which is a pretty decent withdrawal rate for someone who is 67 years old. In addition, she has $30,000 in cash, which represents 6 months of living expenses, which is also pretty good. Now, obviously, this is a simplified version, but you get the idea. Planning software can go into way more detail than this, and it can be customized for you. One thing I want you to take away from this, there is no magic number you need to hit to retire. You can retire for $500,000 if your expenses are low enough. You may need $2 million or more if your expenses are high enough. You can think of retirement spending a lot like eating. You can eat a lot if you work out a lot. You can spend a lot if you have a lot. But as a friend of mine said to me in the gym, you can't out-train a bad diet. Before you beat yourself up or blame your spouse for your retirement spending needs, know this. I've been doing this for 28 years, and I've seen people with millions and millions of dollars be miserable as hell. And I have seen people with relatively modest retirement accounts be extremely happy and live fantastic lives, filled with love and happiness. So the value of your account doesn't necessarily lead to your success. You do. Congratulations, you just finished watching a mini case study. But there's some dangers in watching case studies. Check out what they are in the next video.